3 minutes till midnight. Congresswoman Arlene, you're...
Mr. Speaker, if we may respond to the query
Yes,
of
Mr.
our
Speaker.
honorable
Go
colleague.
ahead.
She should respond, Mr.
Sponsor.
Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My distinguished colleague, we can cite the case of Singapore where there was a tax freeze. So mas severe yung ginawa nila because they froze their taxes from the year 2007 to 2014. And because of the tax freeze, the incidence of illicit trade reduced from a high of 30% in 2007 down to 12% after the tax freeze. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also have a, what do you call this? Rejoinder dito eh. Pero hindi siya technically rejoinder, in opposition naman sa yung ano. In Canada, they attempted to do this in 1994 to lower excise tax rates to address smuggling. Ngunit ang nangyari ay nabawasan ang pondo ng gobyerno, hindi nabawasan ang smuggling, dumami ang naninigarilyo at lumaki ang kita ng mga malalaking tobacco companies. So Mr. Speaker, again, sa totoo, sino makikinabang sa proposal na ito? Ito ay for big tobacco companies at the expense of the health of the Filipino people. So Mr. Speaker, kahit pa sabihin natin, kasi yung nangyayari na ito na magbabago tayo ng tax rate natin, will it really benefit yung mga mamamayan natin? So kung isususpend natin, hindi isususpend, exchange natin yung pagtaas ng buwis sa sigarilyo kada taon, sino talaga yung makikinabang dito, Mr. Speaker, no?
Mr. Speaker, siguro po nakikita namin na unang makikinabang dito ay yung national government. Kasi po nakakakita po tayo ng malaking revenue recovery po. Bilyong-bilyong piso po yung maibabalik natin sa kaban ng bayan. And consequently, given that 50% of the proceeds from the sin tax would go to national health initiatives, there's that downstream positive impact on the patients through HFEP, through PhilHealth, through MAIP. So yun po, in our view, are the two biggest gainers given our proposal. That would be the national government and the patients benefiting from the national health initiatives. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Magkaiba siguro tayo ng track ng pag-iisip dito sa ano. And I think hindi natin ma-reverse yung damage na ito kapag ginawa natin itong bill na ito, Mr. Speaker. Kapag ipinasa natin itong bill na ito, I think ito ay yung magiging effect nito, no? Kasi primarily naman health outcomes yung iniisip namin dito according to the estimates from health advocates, kung meron kang naging pag-aaral, meron ding naging pag-aaral yung ilang mga health advocates. Kung maipapasa po ang panukalang batas na ito, baka magdulot ito ng mahigit kumulang na 400,000 Pilipino ang magsisimulang magyosi, 400,000 new smokers, at higit 100,000 dito ay mga kabataan. By passing this measure, magko-contribute tayo to the deaths of thousands of Filipinos. How do we reconcile the goal of the bill to raise revenue, although lacks the data and evidence that it will indeed? Yun po yung hinahanap namin, na kaya ang inaalala po namin, hindi tayo dapat namimili sa pagitan ng buhay ng mga Pilipino at kikitain din ng pamahalaan, Mr. Speaker, to our good sponsor. And siguro yun yung final, na tanong kaugnay doon sa bill na ito. We think it will really cost so much tayo, Hindi pa sa atin, ang epekto nito. At ang matutuwa lang dito ay ang mga big tobacco companies kasi sila talaga yung makikinabang dito, And magpapatuloy na yung illicit trade, sabi nyo, illicit, smuggling at kung ano-ano pa, mananatili pa rin. Kasi sa nakaraan, hindi naman talaga yun na hindi naman talaga yun na nagawan no, ng solusyon ng pamahalaan. So how can we expect na magkakaroon ng changes sa mga ito? It will just, sabi nyo nga, maaaring i-lower natin yung taxes pero hindi pa rin yun magagawa ng paraan, edi magkakaroon pa rin tayo ng problema later on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat, Madam Sponsor.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Arlene. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the next interpellator, Representative Ray Reyes.
Congressman Reyes, you're hereby recognized. It's 11:43.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we just have a few clarificatory questions regarding its impact on healthcare. But first, we would wish to ask that did any national government give any estimate so that we could work on certain assumptions with regards to this measure?
Congresswoman Swansing. Deputy Speaker Mihan Sinhan is recognized.
Yes, it was discussed, Mr. Speaker. It was discussed, and BIR shared some report of their withdrawals in volume and collections in pesos, and showing that they're both going down. The withdrawals decreasing since 2019, showing industry contraction, and collections started to decline in 2021. That's one of the national agency reports that we received. With that, we've discussed also yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We were also looking at what is supposedly the gains that we should be getting from this proposed measure, if any of our other department agencies were able to provide such estimates. But I believe that it was already discussed a while ago that civil society groups were able to be the one to provide it. We wish to manifest, though, that it would have been good to get the official estimates from government agencies to make the informed and data-driven decision. I'll proceed with my next question, Mr. Speaker. The next question will be its impact on PhilHealth. Can we get the impact or the simulation of the impact of this measure when it comes to the subsidy of PhilHealth? Will this result in higher or lower subsidies? And what do we stand to gain from the decrease in the excise tax over the proposed period?
One minute suspension, Mr. Speaker.
One minute suspension. (11:47). Sinong may quitis dyan? Session resumes. Congresswoman Micaela.
Mr. Speaker, based on the projection, again, we go back to the initial projection, which is in the span of 5 years, from 2026 to 2030, we expect to recover 66 billion pesos in excise tax revenues. So given the sin tax law, which says that 50% of that will go towards health initiatives and 80% of that 50% would go towards PhilHealth, if we compute that, we expect that there would be 26.4 billion pesos that would be added to PhilHealth in the span of 5 years. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, which actually leads me to the next question that I have. Just this afternoon, we passed here in our House, House Bill 11286, which is supposed to implement a track and trace system already in all manufactured, imported, distributed, and sale of tobacco products. Where if we will look at the revenue projections of that measure, we expect to gain, and if it is very effective, 37.8 billion pesos immediately. Now, if we will put that over the same period of 5 years, and let's just do a quick roundup, or let's do a quick roundout just to be on the conservative side. Na sabihin natin na mga 30 billion pesos lang ang makakolekta natin immediately upon the implementation of House Bill 11286 if it ever becomes law. If we put it in the span of 5 years, 150 billion pesos naman po yung ating makukuha doon. So, if we are going to get 60 billion pesos in this measure, yet this measure will provide 150 billion pesos naman, I mean, how do we reconcile that both measures be implemented pa when this one might actually be superior?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague, I believe these can be complementary measures. We can, if we compound the impact of these two measures, that would actually bring us more revenues. So I believe there's no inferior or superior measure between the two. These can be two complementary measures, Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my distinguished colleague. Of course, because I was working with the assumption that the tax measure, the increase in the excise taxes would still be constant. So that's why we were looking at that what we were supposed to gain. But if we will be doing the staggered, I believe you said 2%, 4%, 2%, 4%, then there might be actually losses. But if I might just continue, what else, if that's the case, what else do we stand to gain if we pursue this proposed bill?
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague, sorry, it might be the time. If it's okay, may you please repeat it, my distinguished colleague? What do we stand to gain?
Yes. What else do we stand to gain if we pursue this proposed bill aside from the recovery of excise taxes due to legitimizing illicit trade, or because we will be able to curb down illicit trade? What else do we stand to gain from this measure, aside from the revenue component?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. And to answer the question, We do know that if we start collecting more from the tobacco taxes, some of these funds goes to our tobacco farmers. And from these funds, then it goes to their development, to providing funds for their tobacco farm inputs, equipments, and of course to the livelihood of the tobacco farmers. It increases funds to PhilHealth and to our much needed health infrastructure programs. And there, of course, the reduction of illicit trade. And then increasing the sale of legitimate tax cigarettes, and therefore collecting more revenue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my distinguished colleague. I would also like to bring to this chamber's attention that there is also supposed to be, would there be a provision also in the increase of excise taxes on other non-traditional tobacco products or other alternative products such as heated tobacco products or electronic cigarettes or vape? Does this measure include such?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, there's a 15% increase on HTP as agreed. Yes, as shown on our substitute bill.
Okay.
For vapor, 66.15 on vapor products.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague, 66 pesos po yung idadagdag po natin sa vape products. Tama po ba?
Magiging 66.15 pesos ang vapor products.
Maaari po bang makuha yung rationale kung bakit po natin idadagdag po ito? Ano po yung, what is the rationale in increasing the vape products? Well, I understand that it is effective, it is just proper. I would just like to also hear from my distinguished colleague on what also do we stand to gain from
Yes.
increasing it?
In fact, we have increased the rates. Before, at the present law that we have the payment of per 10 ml. And that is how much? 57. And this is for 10 ml. For free base, not nicotine salt. For nicotine salt, we were, the tax was 54. So 54 and 63. So ours, this bill now increases it to 67 without due regard to distinction. And this is supported by all agencies there, including the DOH, including the DOF. Because right now, Mr. Speaker, there is a lot of misdeclaration. Even if it is really nicotine salt, which has a higher rate per ml, not per 10 ml, there is therefore there is evasion of taxes. And so therefore, to make sure that this will be uniform and therefore they will really be by ml, we put it 66. In other words, pareho na. So wala namang misdeclare. At saka higher, much higher than what we have now. So that is one effect of this bill on non-traditional tobacco.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to my distinguished colleagues. Because as mentioned also by the Honorable Arlene Brosas, that based on 2023 information from the Food and Nutrition Research Institute of the Philippines, electronic cigarette consumption in adolescents has increased from 3.2% in 2019, 7.5% in 2021, and it has shot up to 39.9% in 2023. So if we will be imposing a tax to these to match the traditional cigarettes, we do actually see that we stand to gain from this and also to equalize the supposed tax on all sin products. So, Mr. Speaker, There are no further questions. I just do wish to manifest that while I do see that the staggered or the modification of the tax rates for the next 4 years might still be questionable because we do want to get the responses from national government agencies. This representation is also satisfied with that e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products will now have a more equalized tax measure to include so that it will be able to contribute to the sin tax base, which should redound to the benefit of our public health system. So thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to my distinguished colleagues.
Thank you very much, Congressman Reyes. Majority Leader, it's 11:59.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Representative Raul Daniel Manuel of the Kapadaan Party List for his interpellation.
The Kabataan Party List Representatives, Congressman Raul Manuel is hereby recognized. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would our good sponsors yield to just a few questions?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I proceed, Mr. Speaker, syempre bilang kinatawan ng kabataan, gusto nating batiin ang lahat. Happy Lunar New Year po. Ayan.
Yes, may I request that to greet everyone a happy Wooden Snake New Year, Kung Hei Fak Choi to everyone, and may we be lucky. Please proceed again.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So para sa darating na taon at sa darating pang mga taon, gusto natin ay maging maswerte ang ating mga kabataan pagdating sa usapin ng kalusugan. Kaya naman we are concerned doon sa paggamit na ating mga kapakabataan ng mga tobacco products, mga vape products at iba pa. And this measure is related to such an issue. Mr. Speaker, kanina nabanggit po ng ating sponsor na meron namang mangyayari eventually na recovery ng revenue losses mula doon sa pagbebenta ng mga ganitong tipo ng produkto dahil meron namang inaasahan na organic na pagtaas pa rin ng mga gumagamit nito. To clarify, tama po ba ganun yung nabanggit kanina, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
With that, Mr. Speaker, dun papasok yung isang grave na sentiment mula sa kinatawan na ito. Dahil, Mr. Speaker, supposedly hindi tayo maging reliant dun sa mga not so healthy activities ng ating mga kababayan na dapat nga ay kina-curb po natin. Hindi siya dapat asahan bilang significant na dagdag dun sa pagpopondo para sa iba't ibang mga layunin to address yung iba't ibang mga health concerns sa ating mga kababayan. Ang nangyayari kasi, Mr. Speaker, sa ngayon, ang nakikita ko, simply put, para direct to the point, parang dahil lang dyan naman yung problema, edi pagkakitaan na lang natin. No? Sa halip na ma-address talaga siya in different fronts para hindi tumaas yung rates ng paggamit ng ganitong mga produkto. In fact, in my belief, Mr. Speaker, kung actually dumating tayo sa point na bababa yung revenues natin dahil fortunately ay bumaba significantly yung bilang ng mga Pilipino at maging ng mga kabataan na gumagamit nito, then okay lang, edi maghanap tayo ng ibang mas maayos pa na mga sources ng pwedeng pagdagdag doon sa ating mga health programs. Kaya also, Mr. Speaker, ako ay sumasang-ayon din na itong panukalang batas, mas ise-secure lang actually yung demand for products of tobacco companies, kahit yung mga legal pa. And with that, kaya naman, while I diverge dun sa ang gusto mangyari nitong bill, meron din po tayong hinahapag na ano ba supposedly yung nakita nating solusyon dito. Kasi this may be a market-based solution doon sa isang problema na sa totoo lang, it's more of a health problem naman talaga na meron ding law enforcement aspect. Kaya for this short interpellation, Mr. Speaker, well actually, wala na pala akong further questions kasi natakal naman na kanina. Pero yun, kung ako lang po, paano ba natin talaga sosolusyonan to, itong paggamit ng tobacco products, pati yung mga heated tobacco products at vapor products, edi kung doon sa organic use, even of legal items, edi mas palakasin talaga natin ang ating anti-smoking campaigns. Dapat namumuno dito ang Department of Health, kaugnay ang iba pang mga ahensya, lalo sa mga kabataan natin, dapat katuwang din ng mahigpit ang National Youth Commission. Tapos, doon naman sa illicit na mga products, palakasin po natin ang law enforcement. So, yun po tingin natin yung mag-complement ng mga pamamaraan kahit po wala itong House Bill 11360. Yun lang po, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat sa ating mga sponsor.
Thank you very much, Congressman Manuel. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the Representative Stella Luz Kimbong from the 2nd District of Marikina for her interpellation.
Vice Chair of the Appropriations Committee, Stella Kibo, is hereby recognized.
Salamat at magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Mag-uumpisa ako sa basics kasi nakikinig po ko, Mr. Speaker, sa previous interpellators at parang medyo may mga confusing statements akong narinig. So magandang mag-umpisa sa basics. Nagkakaintindihan naman siguro tayo na ang excise taxes on tobacco products are sin taxes. So magandang maintindihan mula sa kagalang-galang na sponsor kung ano ba ang layunin ng sin taxes on tobacco products.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, nung nag-umpisa po lahat ng mga tinalakay na sin tax law, we are aiming for two things. One is to increase taxes and to make cigarettes not affordable, so to reduce smokers. Yung pangalawa po is to increase a government revenue from the collection of sin tax. So, yun po, noon pa po, talagang alam naman natin yung health issues ng smoking. And so, thus, sin tax came about. And at a certain point, nagkaroon tayo ng batas na yung pag-increase nga ng sin tax natin.
So, tama po na ang purpose is to make cigarettes less affordable. So, ibig sabihin, merong price effect ang sin tax. Kaya naguluhan po ako kanina kasi nung tinanong ni Honorable Brosas kanina kung may epekto po ba ang sin tax sa presyo, parang ang narinig ko wala. Pero at least klaro sa sponsor na kapag tinaasan ang sin tax, tataas ang presyo. Pag binabaan ang sin tax, bababa ang presyo. Tama po ba ang intindi ko?
Tama,
Okay.
Mr. Speaker.
At ang kagandahan sa sin tax ay dahil sa inelasticity of demand ng sigarilyo, we are actually able to take advantage of the lack of trade-off in public health gains, in achieving public health gains, as well as maximizing tax revenues. Yun ang kagandahan nun. Ibig sabihin, pag tinaas natin ang sin taxes, tataas ang presyo ng sigarilyo, pero dahil inelastic ang demand, ibig sabihin nun, because may addiction dahil sa nicotine, because the demand curve is downward sloping. Ibig sabihin, pag tumaas ang presyo, sige, bababa ang demand, maaaring mas kokonti ang bibili ng sigarilyo, pero dahil tumaas ang presyo, ang overall na pagtaas ng revenues ay mas malaki. So, yun ang kagandahan ng sin taxes. Tama ba?
Tama po.
Okay.
Sir
So,
Speaker.
ano naman po ang layunin ng ating panukalang batas? Kasi katulad ng nabanggit kanina, ang current tax regime natin ay merong annual 5% increase. Ang panukala ay for the next 10 years ay bababa ang 5% to 2% first and then 4%, alternating 2%, 4%, 2%, 4% for the next 10 years. Tama po ba yun?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So in short, overall, bababa ang sin tax rates for cigarettes.
Yes.
So, ano ang overall na gusto natin ma-achieve sa pagbaba ng sin tax rates?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, dahil po nung 2022, napansin natin na nag-downward trend na po ang collection natin sa sin tax. And may mga studies po tayo na tumaas naman ang illicit trade. And at the same time, nakita po natin na pati ang smokers po, tumaas na rin po ang numbers. So hindi po nagtali dun sa bakit nagda-downward trend ang tax collection natin. So, dun natin nakita na yung illicit trade dito sa bansa natin ay lumalaki na at karamihan na po ay bumibili na sa illicit cigarettes dahil po sa halos times 2 po ang difference na ng presyo ng isang pack ng hindi nagbabayad na buwis na pack which is around 65 pesos at yung legit po na cigarette pack na nasa 180 pesos po. So yung price gap po kasi masyadong malayo that it tempts more people to buy yung illicit products na at sa huli po hindi na po nabibili yung legit products at lumiliit na po yung collection ng gobyerno sa sin tax.
So first, Mr. Speaker, let's try to break it down. So una sa lahat, we agree that naging effective ang high uniform specific taxes to increase tax revenues and reduce the number of smokers in the initial years of implementation. Tama naman.
Opo.
Except that-
nung umpisa po nakita natin na it was effective.
It was effective
yes.
at the beginning, for the
Yes.
first, how many years? From 2013 up to
To 2021 po,
21.
Mr. Speaker.
So ang sinasabi ninyo, for the period 2013 to 2021, effective. Pero ang sinasabi ninyo, from 2022 to 2023, for 2 years, tila hindi na siya effective dahil bumababa na ang tax collection. So, ang tanong ko, pag bumababa ba ang tax collection, hindi ba ang dapat natin isipin, hindi ba kaya palpak ang pagkolekta ng tax? Bakit ang sinisisi natin ay ang tax rates? Oo, pwedeng kasalanan ng high tax rates. Yes, we can concede to that, but meron tinatawag na observational equivalence. There could be another reason, which is poor tax administration. Diba? So in other words, siguro naman po, hindi kayo magdi-disagree with me that there are 2 possible causes. Poor tax administration and high tax rates. Tama po?
Tama po, Mr. Speaker.
So yan ang tanong. Bumaba in the last 2 years. How do you decompose the downward or the reduction into those 2 possible causes? So dun sa panukala ninyo, ang premise ninyo, it is largely because of the 5% annual increase. When in fact, Mr. Speaker, ano po ba ang purpose ng 5% annual increase? Simple naman po. Yan po ay katumbas ng inflation rate. Ibig sabihin, its purpose is solely to keep the current tax rates constant in real terms. Dahil alam naman natin, ang sin taxes, alam natin, global studies would consistently show that sin taxes is the most effective way to combat smoking. And so, if you want to keep sin tax rates constant, kailangan natin to index our sin tax rates to inflation. So yun lang ang purpose ng 5% annual increase in the tax rates. So ngayon, effectively, by changing the 5% to 2%, 4%, 2%, 4%, and so on and so forth, effectively, pinababaan natin. So, yun ang tanong. Bakit all of a sudden, we trained all our guns to tax rates at kinalimutan natin ang possible bigger culprit, which is poor tax administration. So to be more specific, gagamitin ko na po ang example ni Honorable Rufus Rodriguez. Sabi niya sa kanila, ang presyo ng illicit cigarettes, 40 pesos. Ang presyo ng licit cigarettes, 82 pesos. Mataas dahil magkano na ba ang buwis ngayon? 66 pesos and 15 centavos. Tama po ba? Para sa taong 2025. So ang laki ng price difference. So ngayon, obviously, kung ikaw ay naninigarilyo, papiliin ka, 40 pesos or 82 pesos. Siyempre, ang bibilin mo, yung 40 pesos. Kaya talong-talo ang nagbebenta ng licit cigarettes at nagbabayad pa ng tamang buwis. Yan ang sinasabi ninyo. Tama po ba?
Tama.
So, ang sinasabi ninyo, sa halip na taasan ang buwis from 66.15 to 69.46, kasi yan ang 5% tax increase. Why not taasan na lang from 66.15 to 67.473, which is the 2% increase. Tama po ba?
Tama.
Which means a 2 peso difference. So, in short, yung 82 pesos ay bababa to 80 pesos. Instead of the 5%, pag pinatupad na natin ito, yung dating 82 pesos, the licit cigarettes, at a 2% price increase, tax increase rather, bababa na ang presyo niya to 80 pesos. Diba? So tanong, kung ikaw ay naninigarilyo, ano ang pipiliin mong sigarilyo? Yung 80 peso o yung 40 peso cigarette?
40 pesos.
Yung 40 peso cigarette pa rin. Bibilhin mo pa rin ang illicit cigarette. Ibig sabihin, kahit na binabaan mo ang sin tax rate from 5% to 2%, mananaig pa rin ang illicit cigarettes. Kaya hindi ko po matatanggap ang argument na kailangan natin pababain ang sin tax rate from 5% to 2% para mawala ang illicit trade.
Yes, Mr.
It's a flawed argument, Mr. Speaker. Pasensya na po. Sa simpleng halimbawa, hindi ko po matatanggap ang logic ng panukala. Ang sa akin, it is a problem of tax administration. But I do accept that illicit trade is a very serious concern. at kailangan natin i-address ang serious concern na to. Pero para sa akin, pag pinababa natin ang sin tax rates that way, hindi natin ma-achieve ang gusto nating ma-achieve. Sa simpleng halimbawa, kayo na po mismo ang nagsabi, patuloy pa rin na bibilhin ang illicit cigarettes. So, number 2, 2-4, 2-4, 2-4 until the end of a 10-year period. It's a rather complicated scheme. Ngayon lang po ako nakarinig ng ganong klaseng scheme. Hindi ba medyo magigame ang system natin? Kasi kung ako ang nagbebenta ng sigarilyo, hindi kaya i-front load ko lahat ng sales ko on the years na 2% ang tax? Para ma-avoid ko ang higher tax rate of 4%? Baka naman wala nang benta on years na 4% ang tax rate? Hindi kaya may ganong klaseng tendency?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. So, nag-umpisa po, ang increase po natin sa tax rates 5% per year. Na naging proposal po was a moratorium for a year and then 6% every 2 years. Na para na lang hindi po tayo nagmo-moratorium, ang naging proposal po was 2%, 4%, and it continues. So, dito po, ibabalik ko rin sa dati namin concern ay yung widening gap po kasi ng presyo ng illicit and legit, those packs that pay the proper taxes. Kasi po, pag hindi natin masyadong kinukurb lang yung rise ng taxes on cigarettes kasi masyadong mas mataas kasi yung pagtaas every year. So mabilis yung gap po between illicit and those that are paying the proper taxes. Masyadong mabilis yung pagtaas na ng gap. And it's like a win to the illicit traders po. And sa ngayon po, nakikita natin from the research na ang bilis po ng pagtaas na ng reports and incidents on illicit trade. And I thank for the other government agencies na they're really trying their best to fight illicit trade. The BIR, the BOC, the DTI. Marami na rin po silang enforcements na nagagawa. Pero patuloy pa rin itong paglaganap ng illicit trade dahil po every time po tumataas ang taxes ang sin tax po, sila po ay natutuwa at lalo po silang nakakabenta ng mas marami pang cigarettes sa illicit yung kanilang produkto na hindi po kailangan magbayad ng buwis sa gobyerno. And when yung margin po siguro na mga ganitong klaseng mga smugglers and those people involved sa illicit trade, nagiging malaki tuloy ang kita nila sa kanilang ganitong klaseng negosyo at nagkakaroon tuloy ng additional funds for illegal activities, and we want to also stop the growing illegal activities that are coming from the income of those people that are involved in smuggling and illicit trade.
Again, Mr. Speaker, we are not disagreeing that illicit trade is a serious concern. Pero babalik po ako sa aking sinabi at in-illustrate na by lowering the sin tax rates, we are not achieving anything. So again, ang tanong ko ngayon po is, ano naman ang magiging revenue effect? Kanina po, pinapaliwanag po ni Kong Mika na magkakaroon daw po ng revenue gain. So kitang-kita naman po sa aking halimbawa na wala pong epekto ang pagbaba ng tax rates sa illicit trade. So siguro naman po maliwanag na imposible po tayo magkaroon ng revenue gain. Imposible. Sa halip po ay magkakaroon tayo clearly ng revenue loss dahil mula 5% ay bababa to 2%. So magkano po ang mawawala? Sabihin natin sa very simply put na lang, wag na po tayo gumamit ng sobrang complicated. 2023, 136 billion. Palugit na nga to kasi maraming illicit trade. Kung inimplement natin ang track and trace system at naniniwala tayo na gagana ang track and trace system at gagaling ang ating tax administration, siguro naman tataas dapat ang pagkolekta, di ba? 2023 figures ito, siguro naman dapat tataas ito. Pero sige, palugit na lang, di ba? Gamitin pa rin natin ang 136,000. I-multiply na lang natin ng 2%. Ganun na lang ang simpleng pag-compute, di ba? So, at that very low rate, that's an example of how easily one can compute losses for a single year. So, and you can do that for 10 years. And as I said, palugit pa yon kasi hindi ko pa ini-impute doon ang improvement in tax administration as a result of ang pagpasa ng track and trace system bill. Hindi po ba? Kanina po, pinapaliwanag ang isang napaka-complicated na system na nag-estimate on the basis of the last 5 years na may downward trend. Pwede ko bang tanungin, ano po ang dahilan kung bakit kayo nag-project on the basis of 5 years? Hindi po ba nag-umpisa po ang pag-adopt ng High Uniform Specific Tax in 2013? Anong klase pong econometric rule na gagamit lang po kayo ng 5 data points? Hindi ba ang tawag doon ay sample selection bias? At pipili lang po kayo ng data points na kung saan pababa ang linya at gagamitin ninyo ang regression line with a negative slope and therefore pababa na po ang pag-project out of sample. Yan ang tawag po sa amin dyan ay sample selection bias. Whereas, if you take the entire sample from 2013 to 2024, you will not see a downward sloping line. So yun lang po, but let us not belabor the point because very clear naman po ang aking very simple example without even using regression analysis doon po sa 82 peso cigarette versus a 40 peso cigarette. If you reduce the tax by 2 pesos, you will still purchase the 40 peso cigarette, hindi po ba? Mananaig pa rin ang illicit cigarettes kahit binawasan po natin ang sin taxes from 5% to 2%, 4%, 2%, all the way down to a 10-year period. This bill is completely counterproductive. Mapunta na po tayo sa public health. Ano naman po ang magiging epekto sa public health? Klaro naman po, di ba, sinabi natin kanina, pag bumababa ang sin taxes, nagiging mas mura ang sigarilyo. Ano po ang projection natin sa pagdami ng smokers? Huwag niyo naman po sana sabihin na walang price effect. Pag nagiging mas mura ang isang bagay, naniniwala tayo sa downward sloping demand curve kasi mga ekonomista naman tayo, di ba? So pag nagiging mas mura ang isang commodity, mas dadami ang bibilhin nyo, di ba? So ibig sabihin nun, mas dadami ang pagkonsumo ng sigarilyo or mas dadami ang new smokers. Naitanong na ba po natin or naiproject na ba natin ang new smokers?
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague, based on the price elasticity of cigarettes for the Philippines, so it's saying here that for every 10% increase in price, there would be a 5.6% decrease in consumption. If yun po kasi yung study na nakita namin in terms of price elasticity for cigarettes. So dito po, since we're talking about a 2%, 4% difference, the number of smokers we anticipate would not increase substantially as compared po to the organic growth that's already happening as per, based on the FNRI data po. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague.
So what elasticity are you using, Mr. Speaker? What elasticity estimate, may I ask, Mr. Speaker, are you using when you forecast?
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague, the one that we're using is for every 10% increase in price, cigarette demand declines by 5.6 to 11%.
So, minus,
Negative 0.56 po to negative 1.10.
so for your information, Mr. Speaker, I used minus 0.4 elasticity, and with other parameters, including population growth, GDP growth, for that 10-year period. And my projection is that there would be 373,000 new smokers over a period of 10 years. So that is the estimate. So with a difference of about 0.16, and with your number being more elastic, mas maraming hindi ba mas maraming smokers pa sa iyong forecast dapat? Kasi mas mura di ba? So mas malaki ang demand response. So kung sa akin ay 373,000 smokers, palagay ko sa inyong model with a 0.56 elasticity, malamang ang estimate mo ay aabot sa 400,000 new smokers. So, Mr. Speaker, ang situation po natin, nakaharap po sa atin ngayon isang panukalang batas na negative ang revenue estimates. We have revenue losses, and we have 373 to 400,000 new smokers. So yun po, we have public health losses and revenue losses. So hindi ko masyadong maintindihan kung ano po ang mabe-benefit po natin by voting on this bill. So siguro ibabalik ko po sa mga sponsors kung ano po ang makukuha natin from this. Kasi po, hindi ganun kaliwanag sa akin. And as we know, 50% of smokers, 50% of them eventually die of tobacco-related diseases. So, yun po ang pinag-uusapan natin dito, buhay ng tao. And eventually, ang mga mamamatay due to tobacco-related diseases. So yun po kaya po mabigat po para sa akin ang panukalang ito. Wala na nga pong dagdag na revenues at dadami pa po ang smokers, new smokers. And when we talk about a 2 peso drop in price, ang maapektuhan dito malamang ang kabataan. Di ba po? Kasi alam naman po natin na mas elastic ang demand ng kabataan. Diba? Ibig sabihin, they're more responsive to smaller changes in price. Kaya kahit sabihin ninyo, hindi, maliit lang naman yan, 2 piso lang naman. Pero kapag kabataan ang pinag-uusapan, mas sila po ang nagre-respond doon. Kaya kapag sinasabi natin na merong additional 373,000 smokers, malamang po, Mr. Speaker, mas marami dyan na kabataan rather than adult smokers, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleagues, siguro po on the part of the number of smokers increase, I would have to concede that we would need to do a more refined modeling on that matter. Pero dun po sa revenue projections, Mr. Speaker, I think we're looking at how we're lessening the revenue erosion. Siguro po, I could also share with my distinguished colleague in terms of the modeling. Pero siguro po, the reason why we're saying that there would be a 66 billion peso recovery is that's the amount that would have been saved vis-a-vis the erosion that's projected to happen given the 5% increase year-on-year. Kasi po, based on our estimates, dun po sa kasalukuyang 5.5% year-on-year increase, we expect to have an average decline of 3.7%, sorry, let me say aggregate decline of negative 3.7% from the years 2026 to 2030, as opposed po to the current proposed scheme of 2%, 4%, in which we're expecting the decline in excise tax collections to be negative 0.6%. So meron pong roughly 3.1% na nasasave po, or yun po yung what we would have lost dun po sa 5% versus po sa 2 and 4%. And that's how we came up with the 66 billion peso estimate in terms of recovery, revenue recovery. Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague.
Again, Mr. Chair, wag na natin pag-usapan ang gains. Kasi nga, in a very simple example, di ba po, masyadong malaki ang difference between the price of the smuggled, of the illicit, and the licit product, such that a 2 peso difference in the tax will not solve the problem. Ganun lang po kasimple yon. The smoker will continue to smoke the smuggled product. So wala po tayong pinag-uusapan na revenue gain. And ako, I have projections for the revenue loss for the first 5 years, which is 147 billion pesos. Pero I did not even venture to say that earlier. Kasi nga po, ang pinakamaganda talagang magsabi kung ano ba ang revenue effect is the DOF. Tama naman po si Honorable Brosas na ang dapat na authority na magsabi tungkol dito is the DOF. Pero curiously, kagalang-galang na sponsor, ano bang nangyari sa DOF? Ito ay isang tax measure, pero palagang for the first time, madalas naman po ako mag-attend ng hearing ng Ways and Means. Parang ngayon lang yata ako hindi nakarinig ng isang revenue estimate mula sa DOF. And curiously, nandito sila, nakikita ko sila, presumably to support or not to object at the very least. Pero bakit wala po silang ibinigay na estimate ng revenue effect? At sinasabi ninyo kanina na ang 66 billion gain ay nanggaling sa Committee on Ways and Means. Correction lang po, ako ay miyembro ng Committee on Ways and Means. Hindi po ako kasama sa pag-estimate ng 66 billion na yan, na gain. Because ang aking pagtingin ay malaking loss ang mangyayari po kapag inadapt natin ang panukalang batas na to. So ano po ang nangyari sa DOF? Pwede po bang ipaliwanag sa amin kung bakit sinabi ng DOF, I have no objections, I submit to the will of Congress, yet they did not say anything on the revenue effects. Napakadali pong i-estimate. Sinabi ko na nga, kunin nyo na lang kung magkano ang huling kinolek for the entire year of 2024. Simple na lang, di ba? I-multiply nyo na lang by 2%. Yun ang pinakamadali. Hindi nila magawa yun. Naubusan ng baterya ang kanilang calculator. Bakit hindi sila makapag-commit kung ano ang revenue effect? Bakit tayo dito? Hindi naman tayo authority. Bakit natin sinasabi ang mga kung ano-anong mga numero? So, Mr. Speaker, yun naman po sana ang hiling natin. Why must we adopt a tax measure without the tax authority telling us what the revenue effect would be?
Mr. Speaker, may we ask for a 1-minute suspension, please?
1 minute suspension. Kaya nyo?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we do agree with our colleague that we do want some projection from DOF. And as of today, the only statements we're getting from DOF is that on this matter, that they submit to the wisdom of the Congress and pose no objection to the proposed moratorium effective 2026, and the proposal of, which was the previous proposal of a biennial indexation of 6% post-2026 moratorium. We note that BIR revenue data show that further successive increases in tax rates have failed to result in higher collections. Furthermore, we submit that a holistic approach is needed along with this proposed measure with continuing enforcement and improved tax administration.
Mr. Speaker, hindi pa rin nasagot ang aking tanong. Kasi bakit natin kailangan yung sagot na yon? Simple lang naman po di ba? Dahil base sa train law, kung ano po ang kinokolekta natin mula sa sin taxes ay mai-earmark para sa universal healthcare, para sa PhilHealth, para sa HFEP, Health Facilities Enhancement Program, para sa MAIFIP. Ibig sabihin, ito yung para sa mga guarantee letters ng ating mga constituents tuwing sila po ay na-hospital. So, napakalaking bagay. Kaya, bago tayo umaksyon, mag-decide dito, hindi ba importante na malaman natin paano ba to mag-i-impact sa napaka-importanting mga programa. Lahat tayo dito, di ba yan ang inaabagan natin tuwing budget? HFEP, MAIP, PhilHealth, walang katapusan, binubulabog tayo araw-araw tungkol sa zero subsidy ng PhilHealth. Kaya hindi ko po matanggap na nauuwi tayo dito. Alam ko naman na matatalo naman kami ngayong gabi, pero hindi ko talaga matanggap na hindi natin alam ano ang mangyayari sa PhilHealth, MAIP, HFEP, nang dahil sa ginawa natin ngayong gabi. Sunod ko na lang po na tanong, Mr. Speaker, bakit kaya tayo nagmamadali dito? Pwede bang medyo hinay-hinay ng konti? Kasi ang dami pa sana nating pwedeng gawin, di ba, Mr. Speaker? Tulad ng tanong ni Honorable Brosas, sino ba, in the whole scheme of things, who benefits from this the most? Iyan ang malaking katanungan. And, well, at least may light at the end of the tunnel, di ba? Ang pinakamagandang pinopropose ng panukalang batas na to is yung pagtaas ng excise taxes ng vape products. At least ito ay isang very good step forward. I think it's almost a 10-fold increase for vape products. Pero ang tanong ko naman po is, bakit naman po nahuli ang heated tobacco products? Tama po ba, kagalang-galang na sponsor, na ano po ba ang percent increase in ano ba ang pagtaas ng buwis ng heated tobacco products kumpara po doon sa vape products? At tama ba ang aking observation na tila napakaliit ng pagtaas ng buwis or ng excise tax ng heated tobacco products?
One-minute suspension, Mr. Chair. We will try to compute how we arrive with the vapor product as we combined salt nicotine product and
Session suspended.
vape mix.
Session resumes.
Yes,
12:51.
yes, Mr. Speaker. On the vapor products, the computation shows 5% increase. As to the HTP, it's 15%. And to add as well, we are also having difficulty on deciding on the actual price increase for vapor products because we do know that there's varied technology in vapor products, and the recent report says that some with the new technology, there's even more puffs in a 1 ml as compared to others, and it's making it difficult for us to assess on how to really tax vapor products. And the proposal at the end was this 5% increase.
Ulit, medyo confusing na naman po, Mr. Speaker. Pasensya na po. Ang heated tobacco products, sa aking pagkaintindi, mula sa DOF mismo sa committee hearing, ang sabi nila, ang heated tobacco products ay similar din sa cigarettes, at least in terms of tax treatment. Yan ang naaalala ko po. Meron din pong 20 sticks in 1 pack. Tama po?
Tama.
Sa ngayon po, sa cigarettes, sa ngayon, 2025, ang excise tax ng cigarettes ay 66 pesos and 15 centavos. Tama?
Tama.
Pero para sa heated tobacco products, it's 35 pesos and 83 centavos. Yan ang current. So nakikita po natin na malaki ang disparity. Kaya, obviously, ang heated tobacco products ay relatively cheaper. At alam naman po natin kung relatively cheaper, syempre, magkakaroon ng tendency na mag-switch ka o lumipat ka doon sa mas mura. Ganun lang naman kasimple, di ba? At kitang-kita natin doon sa FNRI survey na especially among the youth, nagkakaroon talaga ng paglipat mula sa traditional cigarettes, mula sa e-cigarettes. Di ba? Yan ang nakikita natin. Kaya, ang nagustuhan ko dito sa panukala ay meron namang attempt na pataasin ang buwis ng both heated tobacco products at vapor products. Kaya lang, ang napansin ko, tila malamya ang pagtaas ng buwis ng heated tobacco products. Kasi mula 35.83, ang proposal ninyo is to increase it to 41 pesos. Tama po?
Tama, Mr. Speaker.
So, okay, merong konting taas, 35 to 41. Gayunpaman, 41 is still substantially less than 66.15. Yun naman ang aking tanong, di ba? Hindi ba ang sinabi ng DOF at sinabi niyo rin sa inyong sponsorship speech na uniformity ang gusto natin? Paano natin i-reconcile ang statements ninyo on uniformity of taxes doon sa panukala na hanggang 41 pesos lang pag heated tobacco products. Pero pag cigarettes ay 66.15 plus 2% the next year.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Ang pagkakalam po natin, ang heated tobacco product ay naiiba ang kategorya compared to a vapor product. So, para makumpara po ang tatlong products natin, yung conventional cigarette, ang conventional cigarette po, it burns dried tobacco leaves, so may combustion ang cigarettes that causes cancer. And for a heated tobacco product, it's not burned. It heats tobacco leaves, thus fewer harmful chemicals than traditional combustible cigarettes. At ito naman vapor products na nagko-contain pa rin ng nicotine, but no combustion, nag-aerosolize yung liquid po. And ang HTP kasi mas dun siya sa category na kapareho ng conventional cigarette. Pero may pagkakaiba lang yung dalawang produkto na to, at yung isa po may burning may burning while the heated tobacco only heats. So, and plus the tobacco leaves po ng ng heated tobacco po is half the size of a tobacco cigarette. So, ang category po ng heated tobacco noon po, nung napag-usapan po ang syntax sa mga ganitong produkto, yun po yung na-discuss nung, I think it was discussed in the BICAM at that time, yung pagkakaiba ng mga products na to.
Pero
And
yun ang-
plus, recently po, nagkakaroon kasi ng reports on that on vapor products nga, kaya nahirapan rin silang ma-analyze kung paano nga i-compute rin yung taxes ng vapor products because of certain vapor products that has more puffs in 1 ml. Pero you can't equate it to something from before na ilan na yung puffs. So naging dun na po pumasok yung na-decide na 5% increase on vapor products, on all vapor products. And vapor products is a totally different product from HTP product.
So, Mr. Speaker, again, I believe that we are deviating from the principle of uniformity. Kasi kung ang naging basehan pala is growth rate of 5% rather than a uniformity principle, dahil hindi nga maintindihan kung ano ang pagkakapareho in terms of the nature of the products. Kaya parang hindi po ba medyo may kalabuan ang pagpili ng 41 pesos. Pero para sa akin simple lang naman di ba? Parang ang laki ng difference, di ba, ng 41 at saka 66. Pero the other difference din po is between vape and HTP. Maaari bang malaman kung how different are the users or the markets ng vape products at saka HTP?
Mr. Chair, may I ask in what terms yung
In
gusto na
terms
difference?
of income segment, siguro pwede natin makita in terms of price points. Pagdating sa vape products, ano bang price points ng vape products? Mas mababa ba ang price points ng vape products kumpara sa heated tobacco products?
One minute suspension, Mr. Speaker.
Session suspended at 12:59 a.m. At 1:02 a.m.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. From one of the vape products, kasi medyo nahirapan din kami with vape kasi iba-iba rin. But if we, for a 450 peso per 10 ml, sinasabi natin ang 10 ml is 10,000 puffs. Ngayon ang HT po, yung device is 1,000 pesos. Yung 20 sticks po is 140. But to compare to the 450 per 10 ml, ang 1 ml kasi ang katumbas ng 20 sticks. So let's say it's 45 peso.
Simplihan ko na lang,
Ang
Mr.
vape.
Chair, Mr. Speaker, simplihan ko na lang. Anong mas mahal?
Ang HTP?
HTP. So, masasabi natin na malamang mas inelastic ang demand for HTP at ganun naman ang aking casual observation. Sa akin lang simple, Mr. Speaker, sa economic principle, the more inelastic demand is, dapat mas mataas ang syntax. Mas elastic ang demand, mas mababa ang syntax rate. Tama ba, Mr. Speaker? That's the efficient design of a tax system. Tama ba?
Mr. Speaker, yung ayaw po natin na mangyari po
No,
na
I'm asking, Mr. Speaker, for an optimally designed tax. Hindi ba ganon?
yes, Mr.
Pag mas inelastic ang demand, mas mataas ang tax rate.
Yes,
Ang
Mr.
sinasabi ko lang, pinapoint out ko lang, the way it is being proposed now, tila hindi ganon ang ina-adopt. So, point being, mababa itong pinopropose na tax rate para sa heated tobacco product. Next point ko po is 10-year period ang pinopropose para sa sin tax rates. We are binding the current president, the next president, 2028, and then 2034. So 3 presidents will be bound by this proposal. Sana nakikinig ang mga magiging future presidents para malaman nila na meron silang revenue loss. Maapektuhan sila ng panukalang ito, di ba? Babala lang po kung sino man kayo magiging presidente in the next 28 at saka 2034. Makinig na po kayo ngayon. Maapektuhan po ang revenues ninyo.
yes, Mr. Speaker, and to comment on that, Mr. Speaker, napansin din namin yung
Yeah,
na
let
iba
me
po.
just finish, Mr. Speaker. Very erratic. If you compute the growth rates of excise tax rates and compare it with the excise tax collection over the years, very erratic po. So, why will you review only after 10 years? Ito na nga, di ba? You are proposing something on the basis of the last 2 years. Sinasabi ninyo, pumunta tayo sa Kongreso, pababain natin ang sin tax rates because on the basis of the reduction in tax collections in 2022 and 2023, we'd better reduce tax rates for the next 10 years. Yet, you will bind 3 presidents and you will review only after 10 years. Mr. Speaker, ano ang logic dito?
Mr. Speaker, regarding po dun sa huling nakalagay sa ating current substitute bill, kami po ay nag-agree rin sa ating colleague na may mali nga dun sa mention of the 10 years. Dahil, so kami po ay nag-agree at mamaya po ay we will be introducing an amendment to go back to the original words of having the president deciding right there and then to go back to 5% when they see, when the DOF secretary recommends such.
Mr. Speaker, alam niyo po, naiintindihan ko po kung saan nanggagaling ang sponsors ng panukalang batas na to. I completely understand kung saan kayo nanggagaling. Naiintindihan ko ang hugot ninyo. Talagang mabigat po ang problema ng illicit trade. Ibig sabihin, yung bumibili ng smuggled at 40 pesos, kawawang-kawawa talaga. Yung nagbebenta ng 82 pesos at nagbabayad ng legit taxes. Kawawang-kawawa talaga yon. So it is really a competition concern. These firms are now operating on an uneven playing field. In economics, Mr. Speaker, there is a simple principle. For every economic problem, you use a separate economic policy instrument. So one problem, one instrument. Hindi ka pwedeng gumamit ng one instrument to solve 2 problems or one instrument to solve 3 problems. So ang sinasabi ko po, ang sin tax rate ay ginagamit po natin for public health reasons. Huwag po natin siyang gamitin for a clear competition concern. Pwede naman po natin gamitin ang ibang policy instrument. bakit hindi natin i-consider ang iba? Why can't we come up with some form of a remedy fund na nanggagaling halimbawa, maybe a form of an income tax relief? Marami po tayong pwedeng ma-create na paraan para ma-equalize ang isang napaka-uneven playing field. Nakikita ko po, legitimate ang competition concern na hinaharap ng mga kumpanya. Nakikita ko rin naman yon. Kasi ang mga kumpanyang ito ay may mga empleyado. So, pero importante ang sin tax rates because sin tax rates are our policy instrument to save lives. So I will end there, Mr. Chair, with, well, maaaring matalo tayo sa boto, pero we will not lose hope in this battle of, mahaba pa siguro tong battle, di ba? Sana naman ay makinig ang iba sa ibang venues at baka naman makinig ang halimbawa mga kaibigan natin sa Senado. So, yun na lang po and pasensya na po at humaba pero sana po napaliwanag ko kung bakit napaka-importante itong panukalang batas na to dahil ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito, buhay ng tao, buhay ng mga anak po natin. Happy Chinese New Year. Magandang umaga po.
Kung Eva Choi, thank you very much. Congresswoman Stella Kimbo. In any case,
Mr. Speaker,
Congressman...
just a very,
Villegas?
very short response to the ending statement of Chair Estela. Mr. Speaker, it is a fact, we are just factual here, that in the last 3 years, the trend has been tax is increasing because you have the 5% every year. It is also a fact that revenue since 2022, 23, and now 24, up to 2024, it has also is decreasing. So we see here, tax is increasing while the revenue is decreasing. The third fact, Mr. Speaker, is that there is a smoking prevalence is on the upward trend. And these three things are the reasons why we have this bill. How to combat this? Hindi naman tayo pwede, business as usual. Because if we go business as usual, the usual is the revenue will continue to go down tremendously. So, Mr. Speaker, that is why these particular bills, Mr. Speaker, because of the big gap, right now, the smuggled cigarettes, like in Mindanao, is 40 pesos, as I have said earlier, per pack. Here, the legitimate one is not 80, the difference is 82. It is 140 per pack. That's the cheapest, legit. So therefore, it's 82. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, by lowering the taxes on legitimate cigarettes, they are now forced to price higher their products, so its price gap with illicit will not widen further. They will not be forced to increase it. They will try to compete with the illicit drugs. So we want, Mr. Speaker, those who are using illicit drugs, illicit cigarettes, like in Mindanao. The youth of Mindanao, as shown by the graph of FNRI, Mindanao is increasing adolescent rate every year by 2 to 4%, and also the adolescents, the adults over 20. So how do we solve that problem? Because I am from Mindanao, and that is the gateway to all this smuggling. The way to do that, therefore, is to have some measure like this, where we're not having a moratorium of zero. we have 2% and then 4%. So that our legitimate producers will not increase their price so much, and which will therefore make our people, instead of going to illicit cigarettes for those who are already organic, already smoking, will try to shift, Mr. Speaker. And that is why, if we do not do this, we will have our smokers use illicit cigarettes, the government loses revenue because no tax collected, because illicit is very cheap, no tax at all. So our trend will be lowering of our income. Well, if you have this kind of a graduated 2424, chances are that we are able to fight this illegal trade, which is rampant in Mindanao. So that is my final statement, Mr. Chair, Mr.
Thank you,
Speaker.
Congressman
Thank you.
Rodriguez. Anyway, the 20th Congress can always repeal this and put another amendment to this amendment, if need be. So there is hope always in the light of the tunnel for this problem. And so we go to the Majority Leader. You're recognized.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and
Any
debate.
objection? Hearing none, the period of sponsorship and debate is hereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
1 minute suspension. Suspend.
Speaker, I move that we suspend consideration on House Bill number 11360.
Is there any objection? Hearing none. Session. Consideration of the bill is suspended. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we take up additional reference of business and request that the Secretary General read the titles of the bills and resolutions as well as communications and committee reports.
Any objection? Hearing none. The Secretariat is hereby ordered to read all the additional reference of business.
Additional reference of business resolutions. House Resolution Number 2201, honoring and commending climate champion and environmental management expert Amelia Dulce Baby Supetran on her dedication in addressing the Philippines climate crisis by Representatives Chato, Lim Kay Chong, Cabredo, Veloso Tuazon, Yap Christiantel, and Alba.
To the Committee on Climate Change.
House Resolution Number 2202, urging the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources to conduct an investigation on the adverse impacts of allowing commercial fishing vessels within municipal waters to the livelihood and subsistence of small-scale fisherfolks and the environment, by Representatives Brosas, Manuel, and Castro Franz.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution Number 2203, resolution urging the national government to promote, support, and collaborate with the University of the Philippines National College of Public Administration and Governance, the Philippine Society for Public Administration, and the Association of Schools of Public Administration in the Philippines in advancing the practice of public administration in the country and in commemorating the Public Administration Week every second week of June. By Representatives Romualdez Ferdinand Martin, Gonzales Aurelio, Suarez, Dalipe, Libanan, Marcos, Romualdez Yadamari, and Asidre.
To the Committee on Rules.
Messages from the Senate. Message dated January 22, 2025, informing the House that on January 21, 2025, the Senate designated Senators Mark Villar, Estrada, Legarda, Tulfo, and Ontiveros as conferees to the Conference Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions of Senate Bill 2863 and House Bill Number 10466.
To the Committee on Foreign Affairs.
Message dated January 22, 2025, informing the House that on January 21, 2025, the Senate designated Senators Villar, G.V. Ejercito, Tulfo de la Rosa, and Pimentel III as conferees to the Conference Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions of Senate Bill 2837 and House Bill 10592.
To the Committee on Energy.
Message dated January 27, 2025, informing the House that on even date, the Senate passed the following Senate bills in which it requests the concurrence of the House. Senate Bill number
To
1536.
the Committee on Natural Resources.
Senate Bill number 2900.
To the Committee on Economic Affairs and Committee on Trade and Industry.
Senate Bill number 2906.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
Senate Bill number 2781.
The Committee on Information and Communications Technology.
Senate Bill number 2895.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
Senate Bill number 2814.
To the Committee on Justice, the Committee on National Defense and Security, and the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
Senate Bill number 2865.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
Messages dated January 27, 2025, informing the House that on even date, the Senate passed the following House bills without amendments. House Bill numbers 10726, 10729, 10947, 10911, 10945, 10946, 10948, 10949, 10950, and 8839.
To the Committee on Rules.
Message dated January 27, 2025, informing the House that on January 22, 2025, the Senate passed with amendment House Bill number 6505, in which it requests the concurrence of the House of
To
Representatives.
the Committee on Legislative Franchises.
Additional reference of business, committee reports. Committee report numbers 1375 and 1379, submitted by the Committees on Higher and Technical Education and Appropriations on House Bill number 11361 and 11371, respectively. Committee report number 1376, submitted by the Committees on Health and Appropriations on House Bill number 11362. Committee report number 1377, submitted by the Committees on People's Participation and Appropriations on House Bill number 11363. Committee report number 1378, submitted by the Committees on Welfare of Children, Appropriations, and Ways and Means on House Bill number 11370.
The aforementioned committee reports are all referred to the Committee on Rules.
Additional reference of business, bills on first reading. House Bill number 11364, converting the Extension Office of the Regional Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board in Baybay City, Leyte, by Representative Carey.
The Committee on Transportation.
House Bill number 11365, preventing and penalizing the crime of bullying in elementary and secondary schools, by Representative Teodoro.
The Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill number 11366, declaring the last week of August of every year as National Youth Mental Health Week, by Representative Teodoro.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill number 11367, instituting policies for the protection and welfare of cleaning workers such as street sweepers and garbage collectors, by Representative Teodoro.
To the Committee on Labor and Employment.
House Bill number 11368, amending Article 1, Section 5 of the National Commission on Muslim Filipinos Act of 2009, by
The Committee on
Representative
Muslim
Ongsuan.
Affairs.
Resolutions, House Resolution number 2204, expressing the profound condolences of the House to the family of Honorable Clavel Asas Martinez, former representative of the 4th Legislative District of Cebu during the 11th, 12th, and 13th Congresses, by Representative Salim Bangon.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution number 2205, to recognize the rights of non-Moro indigenous peoples and their ancestral domains in the BARM, by Representatives Sendanya and Hataman.
The Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities and Indigenous Peoples.
House Resolution number 2206, directing the appropriate committee of the House to conduct an inquiry into the series of armed encounters between the AFP and the MILF in relation to the comprehensive peace agreement and the entire peace process, by Representative Hataman.
To the Committee on Rules.
House Resolution number 2207, urging the NTC to issue a provisional authority license to Starlink Internet Services Philippines, Inc., allowing it to build, own, and operate satellite ground stations, pending final determination of its application for a congressional franchise, by Representatives Salceda, Barba, Garcia, Albert, and Marcos.
To the Committee on Rules.
Committee reports. Committee report number 1380, submitted by the Committee on Higher and Technical Education on House Bill number 11372. Committee report number 1381, submitted by the Committees on Energy and Appropriations on House Bill number 11373.
To the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Bill number 11370 as contained in Committee Report number 1378, submitted by the Committee on Welfare of Children, copies of which were already distributed to the members, and may request the Secretary General to read the title of the said measure.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Secretariat is hereby called to read the title Bill HB 11370.
House Bill number 11370, an act providing for the Magna Carta of Children.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the sponsorship and debate is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we recognize Honorable Representative Jude A. Asidre of Tingog Party List to sponsor the measure.
The congressman from Tingud, Representative Jude Asidre, is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, good morning. Today I rise with a full heart and a deep sense of purpose to sponsor House Bill 11370, or the proposed Magna Carta of Children, a landmark measure that seeks out to put our children, their welfare, and their future at the very center of our laws and policies. Far too long, we have seen too many of our children left behind. While we proudly call them the hope of our nation, the truth is many of them are struggling, hungry, out of school, unsafe, unheard. The numbers don't lie. Millions of Filipino children live in poverty, are victims of abuse, and are denied their basic rights. Let us not forget the stories behind these numbers. The child who goes to bed hungry each night because her family cannot afford 3 meals a day. The boy forced to work instead of studying because of poverty. The child who cannot speak up because she lives in fear of abuse. Mr. Speaker, these are not just statistics. They are real lives, real futures that are being stolen from us. Mr. Speaker, this bill is our answer to their cries for help. The Magna Carta of Children isn't just another piece of legislation. It's a promise to protect every Filipino child, no matter where they're from, no matter their circumstance, no matter their dreams. The proposal establishes a comprehensive framework that ensures every child's right to survival, development, protection, and participation. It's about giving them what they need to grow and thrive, while empowering us as a nation to fulfill our responsibility to them. This bill guarantees access for basic services for children's health, education, and nutrition. No child should go to bed hungry, miss out of school, or suffer because they can't see a doctor. By institutionalizing programs that ensure their well-being, we secure their present and their future. It also strengthens mechanisms for protecting children from abuse, exploitation, and neglect. Whether from physical harm, online exploitation, or violence, every child deserves to grow safe, to play, to dream, and to live free from harm. Additionally, this bill empowers children to have a voice. It recognizes that they are not mere beneficiaries, but active participants in shaping their lives and their communities. Their ideas, dreams, and hopes matter, and we must listen to them. Mr. Speaker, I also want to emphasize that the Magna Carta of Children isn't about helping kids. It's about us reminding ourselves, adults, of our responsibilities as parents, as leaders, and as a nation. It challenges us to do better for the most vulnerable and precious members of our society. This bill underscores the fundamental truth. When we invest in children, we invest in our nation's future. A child who grows up loved, cared for, and empowered becomes an adult who contributes to society, who uplifts their family, and who builds a better future for this country. But Mr. Speaker, let us be honest with ourselves. This measure is no small undertaking. It will require resources, cooperation, and unwavering commitment. Yet I ask you, what is more worth investing in than our children? What could be more important than their future? As lawmakers, we have the power to enact policies that can change lives. We have to create a society where no child is left behind, where every child, no matter how poor or marginalized, can have the chance to dream and achieve. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, this is more than legislation. This is a moral obligation. This is our chance to make history and to tell every Filipino child, we see you, we hear you, we're fighting for you. Let's come together across party lines, across all differences, to approve this measure and show the Filipino people that here in Congress, we put our children first. We often say that the children have the hope of our nation. Today, let's prove it. Let's take that hope and turn it into action. Thank you, and I humbly ask all of you for your support in the approval of the Magna Carta of Children. Together, let's give every Filipino child the chance to dream, the opportunity to succeed, and the future they so richly deserve. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Congressman Isidore. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Honorable Representative Arlene D. Brosas of Gabriela Party List to interpellate the sponsor.
Before that, may I make a manifestation that I'd like to be a co-author of this HB 11370. Congressman Rosas, you're hereby recognized.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, wala naman pong contentious provisions so far na nakita kami sa Magna Carta of Children. We may opt to be an author of the bill, siguro at the latter part, Mr. Speaker. Although meron lang kaming gustong itanong, isang katanungan lang, Mr. Speaker, sa ating butihing sponsor, Mr. Speaker. Maaari po ba?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this representation will be honored to answer the questions.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, yung isang tanong lang namin, ililinaw lang namin sa part kasi ng Title 5, Section 42, letter D, sa portion ng Title 5, Section 42, the state shall, letter D, ensure that persons who have not attained the age of 18 years are not compulsory nor voluntarily recruited into the armed forces or any armed groups. So yun po yung nakalagay doon. So ang gusto sana namin itanong, kasama ba ang ROTC or CAT sa sinasabing armed forces or armed groups dito, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, considering that the law applies only to children, therefore persons below 18 years old, then we would agree that the ROTC does not cover the object of the proposed measure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That's the only question that we have on the proposed bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Sponsor.
Thank you, Congressman.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congresswoman. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Honorable Raul Daniel A. Manuel of Kabataan Party List.
Congressman Manuel, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ang isa sa mga magagandang takeaways natin sa ganitong panukalang batas ay ang pagdidiin na ang mga bata ay meron pong karapatan. Sa bansa po natin, nasanay po tayo na kapag bata, inaasahan lang po natin na dapat ay all the time sumunod at dapat ay hindi magtanong. No? Pero, Mr. Speaker, gusto nating makita din yung balanse na ang mga bata, kung gusto natin eventually ay maging mga responsable silang citizens ng ating bansa at meron silang magandang may ambag sa ating lipunan, dapat ay kinikilala ang kanilang karapatan. Bahagi ng kanilang pagkatuto ay alam nila paano din ma-develop yung capacity na mag-isip at i-assert yung kanilang sarili. At tingin natin, Mr. Speaker, ay hindi yun bangga sa paano sila magiging mga taong sumusunod sa ano naman yung mga bagay na dapat din namang sundin. With that, we truly appreciate this piece of legislation and I would like to manifest my intent to also be an author of this bill. Yun lamang, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Congressman Manuel. The sponsor.
Mr. Speaker, we would like to concur with the position taken by the Honorable Manuel. In fact, in Chapter 7, Section 40, in the bill, the right to participation of children according to their evolving capacities is affirmed and protected. The children are entitled to be heard, express their views, and have their opinions considered in accordance with their age and maturity. And the succeeding sections also provide for the mechanisms for the participation of children, including child participation in governance, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate, I move that we terminate the period of sponsorship and debate.
There the objection, hearing none, the sponsorship and debate is hereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
There the objection, hearing none, the period of amendments is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee nor individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Is there the objection, hearing none, the period of amendments is hereby terminated and closed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 11370.
There is a motion to approve House Bill 11370. All those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay. The ayes have it. HB 11370, an act providing for the Magna Carta of Children, is hereby passed in second reading. Congratulations, Congressman Asidre and all the sponsors. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider bills under the calendar of business for Thursday and Friday. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to our rules, allow me to put forth an omnibus motion for the consideration of the following House Bill. House Bill number 11299, under Committee Report 1337. House Bill number 11300, under Committee Report 1338. House Bill number 11301, under Committee Report 1339. House Bill 11302, under Committee Report 1340. House Bill number 11351, under Committee Report 1362. Copies of which were already distributed to the members, and may request the Secretary General to read the title of the said measures.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, there is an omnibus motion to approve on second reading the House following House bills. House Bill 11299, House Bill 11300, House Bill 11301, House Bill 11302, House Bill number 11351. Wala na, no? Tatlo lang. All those in favor say aye. Sorry. It is 1:38 in the morning. I would like to ask the Secretary to please read the titles of all the bills of the omnibus section.
House Bill number 11299, an act recognizing Singapore Schools Cebu as an educational institution of international character, granting certain prerogatives conducive to its development and growth. House Bill 11300, an act recognizing Singapore School Clerk as an educational institution of international character, granting certain prerogatives conducive to its development and growth. House Bill 11301, an act recognizing Singapore School Manila as an educational institution of international character, granting certain prerogatives conducive to its development and growth. House Bill 11302, an act recognizing Singapore School Manila Green Campus as an educational institution of international character, granting certain prerogatives conducive to its development and growth. And House Bill 11351, an act converting the Patag Elementary School in Barangay Patag, Municipality of Irosin, Province of Sorsogon into an integrated school to be known as the Patag Integrated School and appropriating funds therefore.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
There is a motion to open the sponsorship and debate. Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider the respective explanatory note as the sponsorship of the said measures.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate on the said local bills, I move that we terminate the period of interpolation.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the period of amendments is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments and approve the committee amendments, if any, as contained in the respective committee reports of the aforementioned bills.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading the following House bills. House Bill number 11299, House Bill number 11300, House Bill number 11301, House Bill number 11302, and House Bill number 11351.
And now there is a motion to approve on second reading an omnibus approval for the following bills: House Bill number 11299, 11300, 11301, 11302, 11351. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. The ayes have it. House Bills number 11299, 11300, 11301, 11302, 11351 are hereby approved on second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider bills under the calendar of business for Thursdays and Friday. Pursuant to our rules, allow me to put forth an omnibus motion for the consideration of the following House bills. House Bill number 11326, under Committee Report 1343, House Bill number 11342, under Committee Report 1353, House Bill number 11343, under Committee Report 1354, House Bill number 11344, under Committee Report 1355, House Bill number 11346, under Committee Report 1357, House Bill number 11347, under Committee Report 1358, House Bill number 11348, under Committee Report 1359, House Bill number 11327, under Committee Report 1344, House Bill number 11328, under Committee Report 1345, House Bill number 4921, under Committee Report 47, House Bill number 4922, under Committee Report 48, House Bill number 5143, under Committee Report number 54, House Bill number 5150, under Committee Report 55, House Bill number 5306, under Committee Report 66, House Bill number 9549, under Committee Report 857, House Bill 9610, under Committee Report 872, House Bill number 11032, under Committee Report 1243, House Bill number 11316, under Committee Report 1341, House Bill number 8800, under Committee Report 1366, House Bill number 10216, under Committee Report 1042, House Bill number 10217, under Committee Report 1043, House Bill number 10218, under Committee Report 1044, House Bill number 10219, under Committee Report 1045, House Bill number 10221, under Committee Report 1046, House Bill number 10222, under Committee Report 1047, House Bill number 10223, under Committee Report 1048.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. The Secretary General is hereby asked to read the aforementioned House bills.
House Bill number 11326, an act converting the Samar National School of Arts and Trade in the Municipality of Taft, Province of Eastern Samar into Polytechnic Institution to be administered and supervised by the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 11342, an act establishing a College of Medicine in the Eastern Samar State University in the city of Borongan, Province of Eastern Samar and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 11343, an act strengthening the Mindanao State University system and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 11344, an act converting the Davao del Norte State College in Panabo City, Province of Davao del Norte into a state university and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 11346, an act establishing a College of Medicine in the Mindanao State University General Santos City campus in General Santos City, Province of South Cotabato and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill number 11347, an act establishing a College of Medicine in the Polytechnic University of the Philippines, Quezon City Campus, Metro Manila, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 11348, an act establishing a College of Medicine in Northeastern Mindanao State University Main Campus in the Municipality of Tandag, Province of Surigao del Sur, and appropriating funds therefore. House Bill 11327, an act renaming the Abra de Ilog Municipal Hospital in the Municipality of Abra de Ilog, Province of Occidental Mindoro to Abra de Ilog Community Hospital. House Bill 11328, an act renaming the Far North Luzon General Hospital and Training Center in the Municipality of Luna, Province of Apayao, to Elias K. Bulot Sr. General Hospital and Medical Center. House Bill 4921, an act reclassifying as agricultural land a parcel of land of the public domain located in Mangabol Reservation in the Municipality of Bayambang, Province of Pangasinan, for the purpose of distributing the same to long-term farmers and occupants thereof. House Bill 4922, an act reclassifying as agricultural land a parcel of land of the public domain situated at Lourdes, Alubijid, Province of Misamis Oriental, to be utilized as the site of the Science and Technology Park of the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. House Bill 5143, an act reclassifying a parcel of land of the public domain located in the municipalities of Dinulupihan and Hermosa, Province of Bataan, as agricultural land to open to disposition. House Bill 5150, an act reclassifying a parcel of land of the public domain located in the city of Azamis, Province of Misamis Occidental, as agricultural land and open to disposition. House Bill 5306, an act reclassifying a parcel of land of the public domain located in the municipality of Don Victoriano, Province of Misamis Occidental, as agricultural land and open to disposition. House Bill 9549, an act reclassifying as agricultural land a parcel of land of the public domain situated at the city of Lamitan, Province of Basilan, Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, to be reserved for the exclusive use of the provincial government of Basilan as the site of its government center and housing projects. House Bill 9610, an act declaring as agricultural land certain parcels of land of the public domain located in the city of Naga, Province of Cebu, and open to disposition for agricultural, residential, commercial, industrial, or other productive purposes. House Bill number 11032, an act declaring a parcel of land of the public domain located in the city of Cagayan de Oro as agricultural land and open to disposition for agricultural, commercial, residential, industrial, and other purposes. House Bill 11316, an act declaring a parcel of land of the public domain located in Barangay Bud in the Principality of Uyugan, Province of Batanes, as agricultural land and open to disposition for agricultural, commercial, residential, and other productive purposes. House Bill 8800, an act converting the municipality of Claver in the province of Surigao del Norte into a component city to be known as the City of Claver. House Bill 10216, an act creating the municipality of Don Mariano Peralta in the province of Davao Occidental. House Bill 10217, an act merging barangays 9, 10, 11, 16, 18, 25, and 28 in the city of Ormoc, province of Leyte, and constituting them into a district and independent barangay to be known as Barangay East. House Bill 10218, an act merging barangays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 15, 17, 23, and 27 in the city of Ormoc, province of Leyte, and constituting them into a distinct and independent barangay to be known as Barangay South. House Bill 10219, an act merging barangays 14, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, and 26 in the city of Ormoc, province of Leyte, and constituting them into a distinct and independent barangay to be known as Barangay West. House Bill 10221, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Pag-asa in the municipality of Calamansig, province of Sultan Kudarat. House Bill 10222, an act creating a barangay to be known as Barangay Tigpalas in the municipality of San Miguel, province of Bulacan. House Bill 10223, an act separating the city of New Canaan from Barangay Pag-asa in the municipality of Alabel, province of Sarangani, and constituting it into a distinct and independent barangay to be known as Barangay New Canaan.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of sponsorship and debate.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider the respective explanatory notes as the sponsorship of the said measures.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to interpolate on the said local bills, I move that we terminate the period of interpellation.
Is there any objection? The interpellation is hereby terminated. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of amendments and approve the committee amendments, if any, as contained in the respective committee reports of the aforementioned bills.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, there being no individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Is there any objection? The period of amendments is hereby open.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we vote on second reading all the aforementioned bills.
Right, there is a motion, an omnibus motion to approve the following House Bill number 11326, 11342, 11343, 11344, 11346, 11347, 11348, 11327, 11328, 4921, 4922, 5143, 5150, 5306, 9549, 9610, 11032, 11316, 8800, 10216, 10217, 10218, 10219, 10221, 10222, 10223. All those in favor, please say aye. All those against, say nay. The ayes have it. All the said House bills are hereby approved on second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the House and the Senate have approved on third reading House Bill number 6509 and Senate Bill number 2814 respectively, providing free legal assistance to military and uniformed personnel facing any charge arising from incidents related to the performance of official duty. We have been informed that the Committees on Justice, National Defense and Security, and Public Order and Safety, sponsors of House Bill number 6509, as well as the authors thereof, is in concurrence with the provisions of Senate Bill number 2814. In accordance with our rules, I move to adopt Senate Bill number 2814 as an amendment to the House Bill number 6509.
There is a motion to adopt Senate Bill number 2814 as an amendment to the House Bill number 6509. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. The Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of messages from the Senate informing the House that the Senate passed with amendments House Bill numbers 5850, 5851, 6 and 6158, all are bills declaring holidays in certain localities. We have been informed that the Committee on Local Government, sponsor of the aforementioned House bills, as well as its respective authors, has no objections to the amendments of the Senate to the said measures. In accordance with our rules, I move to concur with the Senate amendments to House Bill numbers 5850, 5851, and 6158.
There is a motion to concur with the Senate amendments to House Bills numbers 5850, 5851, and 6158. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of a message from the Senate informing the House that the Senate passed with amendments House Bill number 8214, establishing in the city of Lucena, province of Quezon, a general hospital to be known as the Lucena City Hospital. We have been informed that the Committee on Health, sponsor of the aforementioned House bill, as well as the authors, has no objections to the amendments of the Senate to the said measure. In accordance with our rules, I move to concur with the Senate amendments to House Bill number 8214.
There is a motion to concur with the Senate amendments to the House Bill number 8214. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to designate the following members of the Concurrence Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions of House Bill number 7327 and Senate Bill number 2781, institutionalizing the transition of the government to e-governance in the digital age. Representative Tobias Toby Tiangco, Representative Chino Miguel Almario, Representative Margarita Ignacia Nograles Almario, Representative Fernando Cabredo, Representative Harris Christopher Ongchuan.
There is a motion to designate the aforementioned members to the said conference committee. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is therefore approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to designate the following members of the Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 9277 and Senate Bill number 82865, instituting reforms to enhance the efficiency and dynamism of the Philippine capital markets. Representatives Joey Sarte Salceda, Representative Micaela Angela Swansing, Representative Ray Reyes, Representative Wilter Palma, Representative Ambrosio Cruz Jr., Representative Midi Kua, and Representative Sergio Dagook.
There is again a motion to designate the aforementioned members to the said conference committee. Is there any objection? Chair hearing none, the motion is therefore approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to designate the following members of the Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Bill number 10592 and Senate Bill number 2837, rationalizing the mandate of the Power Sector Assets and Liabilities Management Corporation. Representative Lord Ellen J. Velasco, Representative Joey Sarte Salceda, Representative Arnie Fuentavella, Representative Jefferson Konghun, and Representative Sergio Dagook.
There is again a motion to designate the aforementioned members to the said conference committee. Is there any objection? The chair hearing none again, the motion is therefore approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 11360 as contained in Committee Report 1374. And may I ask the Secretary General to read the title of the said measure.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Secretary General is hereby called to again read the title of the measure.
House Bill number 11360, an act amending sections 144, 145, 147, and 263A of the National Internal Revenue Code as amended and for other purposes.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, the parliamentary status of the bill is we have just terminated the period of sponsorship and debate. I now move that we open the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, the period of amendments is hereby open. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no committee amendments, I move that we proceed with the individual amendments.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Honorable Representative Ramon C. Nolasco Jr. of the 1st District of Cagayan to propose the individual amendments.
Congressman from the 1st District of Cagayan, Jude Nolasco, is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I propose the following amendments to the unnumbered substitute bill to House Bill number 11360. First, insert a new Section 5, amending Section 289 of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended on the special financial support to the beneficiary provinces producing Virginia tobacco, which is therein partly cited and amended as follows. On subsection 4 of Section 289, insert the phrase multipurpose buildings, flood control systems after the phrase rural health facilities. Said subsection shall now read as follows. Infrastructure projects such as farm-to-market roads, bridges, schools, hospitals, rural health facilities, multipurpose buildings, flood control systems, and irrigation systems. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
The majority.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendments.
Any objection? The amendment is hereby approved. Congressman Nolasco.
On subsection 5 of Section 289, delete the word "and" after the semicolon. Said subsection shall now read as follows. Programs and projects that will promote, enhance, and develop the tourism potential of Virginia tobacco-growing provinces.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
And the majority?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Any objection? Chair hearing none, the amendment is hereby approved.
On subsection 6 of Section 289, delete the word financial before the word assistance and replace the same with the phrase cash and educational. On the same subsection 6 of Section 289, delete the phrase that were displaced or who ceased to produce tobacco and replace with including those who are also planters of other crops or likewise engaged in fishing and their children. Said subsection 6 shall now read as follows. programs that will provide cash and educational assistance for tobacco farmers, including those who are also planters of other crops or likewise engaged in fishing, and their children. And
what does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
And the majority?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Are there objections? Hearing none, the amendment is hereby approved. Congressman Nolasco?
insert a new subsection 7 of Section 289. The said new subsection 7 shall read as follows. Programs that will improve the medical and educational facilities of hospitals and schools in Virginia tobacco-producing provinces. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
The majority?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is approved. Congressman Nolasco.
On page 2, line 6, delete lines 6 to 13 after the phrase December 31, 2035, and the following portion of subsection A of section 144 shall read as follows. The rates of tax imposed under this section shall increase by 4% every year thereafter, effective on January 1, 2014, through revenue regulations issued by the Secretary of Finance. By 2% every even-numbered year, effective on January 1, 2026, and 4% every odd-numbered year, effective on January 1, 2027, until December 31, 2035, provided that as a safeguard against front-loading, the Department of Finance, in consultation with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, shall come up with reasonable threshold for removals. Provided further that the President, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Finance, may increase the tax rate by up to 5% in case the actual national government deficit of the previous year exceeds the program deficit by an equivalent of 2% of the gross domestic product of the previous year. Provided finally that after the 10-year period, a review of the tax imposed and its impact on revenue collections, health costs, and prevalence of smoking shall be conducted. So move, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
The majority?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Is there any objection? Again, hearing none, the amendment is hereby approved. Congressman Nolasco.
On page 3, line 4, delete lines 4 to 12 after the phrase December 31, 2035, and the following portion of subsection B of section 144 shall read as follows. The rate of tax imposed shall be increased by 2% every even-numbered year, effective on January 1, 2026, and 4% every odd-numbered year, effective on January 1, 2027, until December 31, 2035, provided that as a safeguard against front-loading, the Department of Finance, in consultation with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, shall come up with reasonable threshold for removals. Provided further that the President, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Finance, may increase the tax rate by up to 5% in case the actual national government deficit of the previous year exceeds the program deficit by an equivalent of 2% of the gross domestic product of the previous year. Provided finally that after the 10-year period, a review of the tax imposed and its impact on revenue collections, health costs, and prevalence of smoking shall be conducted. So move, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
What does the majority say?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the
Are
amendment.
there any objections? Chair hears none. The amendment is hereby approved. Congressman Nolasco.
On page 5, line 15, delete lines 15 to 23 after the phrase December 31, 2035, and the following portion of subsection C of section 144 shall read as follows. The rate of tax imposed shall be increased by 2% every even-numbered year, effective on January 1, 2026, and 4% every odd-numbered year, effective on January 1, 2027, until December 31, 2035, provided that as a safeguard against front-loading, the Department of Finance, in consultation with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, shall come up with a reasonable threshold for removals. Provided further that the President, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Finance, may increase the tax rate by up to 5% in case the actual national government deficit of the previous year exceeds the program deficit by an equivalent of 2% of the gross domestic product of the previous year. Provided finally that after the 10-year period, a review of the tax imposed and its impact on revenue collections, health costs, and prevalence of smoking shall be conducted. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
And the majority?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Any objections? The chair hears none. The amendment is hereby approved. Congressman Nolasco.
On page 7, line 2, delete lines 2 to 10 after the phrase December 31, 2035, and the following portion of subsection B of section 145 shall read as follows. The rate of tax imposed shall be increased by 2% every even-numbered year effective on January 1, 2026, and 4% every odd-numbered year effective on January 1, 2027, until December 31, 2035, provided that as a safeguard against front-loading, the Department of Finance, in consultation with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, shall come up with a reasonable threshold for removals, provided further that the President, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Finance, may increase the tax rate by up to 5% in case the actual national government deficit of the previous year exceeds the program deficit by an equivalent of 2% of the gross domestic product of the previous year, provided finally that after the 10-year period, a review of the tax imposed and its impact on revenue collections, health costs, and prevalence of smoking shall be conducted. So move, Mr. Speaker.
What does the sponsor say?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
Majority?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Any objections? Hearing none, the amendment is approved. Congressman Nolasco.
On page 8, line 4, delete lines 4 to 12 after the phrase December 31, 2035, and the following portion of subsection C of section 145 shall read as follows. The rate of tax imposed shall be increased by 2% every even-numbered year effective on January 1, 2026, and 4% every odd-numbered year effective on January 1, 2027, until December 31, 2035, provided that as a safeguard against front-loading, the Department of Finance, in consultation with the Bureau of Internal Revenue, shall come up with reasonable threshold for removals, provided further that the President, upon the recommendation of the Secretary of Finance, may increase the tax rate by up to 5% in case the actual national government deficit of the previous year exceeds the program deficit by an equivalent of 2% of the gross domestic product of the previous year. Provided finally that after the 10-year period, a review of the tax imposed and its impact on revenue collections, health costs, and prevalence of smoking shall be conducted. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
What is the response of the sponsor?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
And the House?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
Any objection? Hearing none, the amendment is approved. Congressman Nolasco.
Finally, Mr. Speaker, the title of House Bill number 11360 is hereby amended to read as follows. An Act amending Sections 144, 145, 147, 263-A, and 289 of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 as amended and for other purposes. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
And what is the response of the sponsor?
We accept, Mr. Speaker.
And the House?
Mr. Speaker, I move that we approve the amendment.
And finally, no objections. Hearing none, the amendment is hereby finally approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no member who wishes to introduce individual amendments, I move that we terminate the period of amendments.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that we vote on second reading House Bill number 11360 as amended.
There is a motion to approve in second reading House Bill number 11360. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those not in favor say nay. The ayes have it. House Bill number 11360 at the time of 2:09 a.m. is hereby approved in second reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, in accordance with our rules governing inquiries in aid of legislation, I move to refer the following House resolutions to the appropriate committees. House Resolution 2173 on the Committee on Health, House Resolution 2180 to the Committee on Public Order and Safety, House Resolution 2181 to the Committee on Public Order and Safety. House Resolution 2188 to the Committee on Public Accounts.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to our rules governing inquiries in aid of legislation, I move to refer the following speeches delivered on January 20, 2025 to the appropriate committees. The speech of Representative Acharon to the Committee on Public Order and Safety, the speech of Representative Fernandez to the Committee on Ecology, and the speech of Representative Herrera to the Committee on Revision of Laws.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move to include additional co-authors to House Bill numbers 10902, 11317, 11337, 11340, 11341, 11349, 11350, 11352, 11355, 11357, 11358, 11360, and 11370, and House Resolution numbers 2190, 2191, 2192, 2198, and 2207 as contained in the list to be submitted by the Committee on Rules.
Chair, any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is thereby approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution number 21090 as contained in Committee Report 1346 and may request the Secretary General to read the title of the said resolution.
The objection, hearing none, the Secretariat is hereby called to read House Bill number 2190.
House Resolution 2190, resolution congratulating and commending the Catholic Women's Club for its dynamism, significance, and relevance in the field of charity work by initiating and facilitating projects aimed at uplifting the quality of life of the underprivileged.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Resolution number 2190.
Any objection? Hearing none, there is a motion adopting House Bill number 2190. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. The House Resolution 2190 has won and is therefore adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution number 2191 as contained in Committee Report 1347. May I request the Secretary General to read the title of the said House Resolution.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the Secretariat is hereby called to read House Resolution number 2191.
House Resolution 2191, resolution urging the Department of Social Welfare and Development to improve its system of identifying, listing, and removing beneficiaries from the 4-Ps program and implementing and following the spirit and intent of Republic Act number 11310, otherwise known as the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program or 4-Ps Act.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Resolution number 2191.
There is a motion to adopt House Resolution number 2191. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against say nay. House Bill Resolution 2191 is hereby adopted. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution number 2207 and may request the Secretary General to read the title of the said House Resolution.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Secretariat is again hereby called to read House Resolution number 2207.
House Resolution 2207, resolution urging the National Telecommunications Commission to issue a provisional authority license to Starlink Internet Services Philippines, Inc., allowing it to build, own, and operate satellite ground stations pending final determination of its application for a congressional franchise.
Before that, this representation, the Speaker would like to manifest to be a co-author of this House Resolution 2207. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Resolution number 2207.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. All those in favor of passing for the adoption, HR 2207, please say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. The House Resolution 2207 is hereby passed for adoption. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider House Resolution number 2198 and may request the Secretary General to read the title of the said House Resolution.
Is there any objection? Chair, hearing none. The Secretariat is hereby ordered to read the HR 2198.
House Resolution 2198, resolution honoring the life, legacy, and immense contributions of Philippine film and television icon Gloria Romero and expressing profound sympathies and sincerest condolences of the House of Representatives over her passing.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move for the adoption of House Resolution number 2198 in consolidation with House Resolutions number 2196 and House Resolution number 2197.
There is a motion to adopt HR 2198. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay. The ayes have it. House Resolution 2198 is hereby approved. In consolidation. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, there being no business left for the day, I move that we adjourn session until Monday, February 3, 2025 at 3 p.m.
With pleasure, the session is adjourned until Monday. Picture. Parang Appropriations Committee to ah. Picture tayo lahat. Oh.